I track market cycles and capital flows in UK property, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, I've never seen 10 major forces align like this. Not in 2008, not in 2016, not even during COVID. Right now in 2026, there are 10 separate market dynamics converging to create what professional operators are calling the best buying window in 3 decades. But here's the critical part. This window is temporary. By 2030, most of these forces will have shifted, and some opportunities will be permanently closed. So let me walk you through the 10 reasons why smart money is deploying capital in 2026, and why if you wait till 27 or 28, it means you're going to miss the optimal entry point. Hi guys, I'm Jim Holland from Dan & Jim Property, which I run with my brother in the northwest of England. We buy houses and rent them out either as whole properties or by the room. And I've just completed my first HMO conversion, transforming a 3-bedroom house into a 6-bedroom property, and raised £160,000 in private investor funds to make it happen. Right now, I'm focused on filling my pipeline with 3 to 5 projects over the next 12 months. And my bigger vision is to create freedom for myself and others through property, whilst providing high quality housing that people are actually proud to call their home. Now this video breaks down 10 converging forces that make 2026 the optimal deployment window. I'll show you the data, I'll show you the trends, and I'll show you why professional operators are moving now rather than waiting. And if you're looking to deploy £500,000 to £5 million in UK property and you're evaluating timing and strategy, there's a link in the description to our investor waitlist. We ask specific questions about capital available, investment time frame, and what you're looking for in terms of operator involvement. Now, this isn't for everyone, but if you're a sophisticated investor analyzing the market cycles, you'll want to understand why 2026 represents peak opportunity before that window narrows. So let's start with the first force, the landlord exodus. This first force is something that's becoming impossible to ignore. I get lots of comments on content I post online, and there's a clear pattern emerging. Older landlords, experienced landlords, they're saying they're fed up with the regulatory burden and they're leaving the market. And they're not just thinking about it, they're actually selling up. And here are the numbers. For every 1 property that landlords are buying, 5.4 are being sold to owner occupiers. 5.4 to 1. 19% of landlords sold properties in the last year, and only 8% purchased. 41% of landlords plan to sell properties in the next 12 months, and 42% of London landlords are planning to exit. And one property investor I follow said, in 3 decades of investing, I've rarely seen so many motivated sellers in such a short space of time. So here's what this means for me and you. Every property sold by an exiting landlord needs a buyer. Professional operators are absorbing market share at scale, and you're not competing with other investors for deals. You're buying them from motivated sellers who've decided they're completely done with the hassle. And that's force 1, unprecedented seller motivation. The second force is interest rates, and this is critical for deal economics. The interest rate cycle has turned. Interest rates peaked in 2023 and have been falling ever since. Mortgage rates have significantly dropped from their 2023 highs. Major financial institutions are forecasting further cuts throughout 26 into 27. And here's why this matters. Properties that didn't stack at peak interest rates suddenly work as rates fall. Every rate cut improves your monthly cash flow, and every refinance improves your loan to value mathematics. So if you're sitting on the sideline waiting for rates to fall further, you're going to be watching prices rise while you wait. The smart move: deploy now while rates are falling and prices are still relatively flat. And that's force 2. The third force is price positioning, and this is a temporary window that's closing fast. Current UK house prices are just 0.83% below Q3 2022 all-time highs. We're basically at the same level we were at the peak. But here's what the forecasts say. Savills is forecasting 22.2% growth from 2025 to 2030, and in the northern regions 27.6% to 28.8% growth over the next 5 years. So prices are flat now, but they won't stay flat forever. Once prices recover past their 2022 peak and start climbing, your entry points get worse permanently. The smart money is deploying while prices are flat and rates are falling. By 2027, prices will be higher, and by 2030, significantly higher again. So that's force 3, the brief window before price growth eliminates the opportunity. The fourth force is something most people aren't paying attention to. Affordability is actually improving. The house price to earnings ratio has improved from 6.9 times earnings at the post-COVID peak down to 5.75 times currently. In England specifically, affordability improved from 8.4 times earnings to 7.7 times. And average wages are growing 5.6% annually. Savills expects wages to grow 22% between 25 and 29. Housing affordability has improved in 91% of local authorities since 2023. And here's why this matters for you as an investor. Improving affordability supports rental demand. People can afford higher rents. It also supports eventual exit value. More buyers can qualify for mortgages when you want to sell. So the fundamentals are improving while prices are flat. That's force number 4. Now let's talk about force 5, the housing supply crisis. And this isn't a temporary shortage, this is structural. The government's target 1.5 million homes by 2029. That's 370,000 homes annually. The UK has never achieved 300,000 homes in modern history. And the actual delivery last year was 221,000, down 6% year on year. Centre for Cities forecasts will fall at least 388,000 homes short of our target. And on the rental side, only 284,000 properties available to rent. That's a historic low, down 18% year on year. 21 tenants are now competing for each rental property according to Zoopla. The supply-demand imbalance is permanent. It won't be fixed this decade. Every property you control captures a growing share of a shrinking supply. That's force 5, structural shortage. Force 6 is institutional capital, and this validates everything I'm telling you. A record 1.9 billion invested in the UK residential rental market over the past few years. Blackstone now manages 17,000 UK properties. They've invested 1.4 billion since late 2023. And other major players are deploying capital. Aviva has put in 600 million since 2020. Legal & General, Lloyds, KKR and Brookfield are doing the same. 54% of 2024 investment went into single-family homes. That's up from just 5% in 2019. But here's the key. Only 3% of the UK rental homes are owned institutionally, compared to 37% in Germany and 41% in the US. Institutional money validates these fundamentals, but they target massive deals, multi-million-pound deals. The 10 to 50 property portfolio sweet spot, it's still relatively untouched. It's too big for amateurs and it's too small for institutions. That's where professional operators win, and that's force 6. Force 7 is regulation. And most amateur landlords see this as a problem, but professional operators see it as an opportunity. Renters' Rights Act, Section 21 no-fault evictions abolished from the 1st of May 2026. EPCC requirements, new tenancies from 2028 and all tenancies from 2030. 52% of rental properties are currently below an EPC of a C. And the average upgrade cost is £6,100 to £6,800 per property, with fines up to £30,000 per property for non-compliance. There's going to be a private rented sector database and a landlord ombudsman coming between 2026 and 2028. And the decent home standard is going to be extended to private rentals. Every new regulation pushes another amateur landlord out, and every compliance requirement raises the barrier to entry. This means if you're a professional operator with proper systems, you can absorb this exiting landlord's market share. Now we get to forces 8, 9, and 10. These are the forces that create absolute urgency, because these are the ones that are going to change by 2030. Force 8 is the tax squeeze. The November 2025 budget introduced a new property income tax. Property income tax rates increased by 2% from April 2027, with the basic rate being 22%, higher rate 42%, and the additional rate 47%. Section 24 mortgage interest restrictions still apply to personal landlords, and income tax thresholds have been frozen until 2030-31. The Office for Budget Responsibility said this successive eroding of private landlord returns will likely reduce the supply of rental properties over the long run. But here's the key. Limited companies pay 19 to 25% corporation tax instead, and they're exempt from the 2027 increases. Personal name landlords face a double squeeze. Section 24 plus the 2027 increases, whereas limited company operators, we're protected. This accelerates the exodus, which means more motivated sellers, but only until 2027. After April 2027, the weak hands will already be gone. That's Force 8, the tax deadline. Force 9 ties directly into Force 8. The smart money is already restructured. Limited company ownership is now the dominant model. 401,000 buy-to-let limited companies in the UK. That's up from 92,000 in 2016. Record 61,000 new companies formed in 2024 alone, a 23% increase on 2023. and 33,000 incorporated in just the first half of 2025. 81% of all buy-to-let mortgage applications now come from limited company borrowers. Limited companies can deduct full mortgage interest as a business expense, and corporation tax is 19 to 25%, whereas personal income tax 22 to 47% from 2027. The markets are splitting. Professional operators using limited company structures on one side and exiting amateur personal name landlords on the other. If you're already operating through proper structures like our JV partnerships do, this is a massive competitive advantage. And that's force 9. And finally, force 10. This is the demand side of the equation. Generation rent isn't a phase, it's structural. 90% of potential first-time buyers can't afford a home without the bank of mum and dad. 75% can't afford to buy without government support. And the average time to save for a deposit is 9 years. 60% cite mortgage affordability as the barrier. And 83% of renters are motivated to buy because of rising rents, but they just can't. There's 15 to 20 inquiries per rental property within hours of it being listed. And room rents in the UK are at a record high, £753 per month nationally, up 28% since 2020. One letting agent said, based on 2025 market trends, this summer may have been the most competitive we've seen for many years. So generation rent isn't temporary. These people want to buy, but they can't. They'll likely be tenants for years, maybe decades. So demand is locked in for that entire decade. So you have a supply shortage on one side and permanent demand from generation rent on the other. That's force 10. So those are the 10 forces. But here's the critical question. Why 2026 specifically? Why not wait until 2027 or 2028? Because by 2030, several of those forces will have shifted. Prices will have recovered. Savills forecasts 22% growth, which means entry points will get worse, and motivated sellers will have disappeared. Once the weak hands sell, the opportunity is going to shrink. And interest rates will have fallen further, yes, but competition will have increased. More buyers will enter the market. The tax changes hit April 2027. So the exodus accelerates before that, and the best deals will be gone first. And institutional capital will continue deploying, so the sweet spot will shrink over time. So the window is open now. By 2030, you'll be buying at higher prices with more competition. And professional operators understand this. That's why we're deploying in 2026 and we're not waiting. Most investors can see these 10 forces. They understand the opportunity intellectually. But here's the challenge: execution. You need local knowledge, contractor networks, and compliance expertise, operational systems to manage conversions at scale. That's exactly what our partnership model addresses. If you have 500,000 to 5 million to deploy and you want a completely hands-off structure where professional operators handle everything: acquisition, conversion, compliance, tenant management, there's a link in the description to our investor waitlist. We ask specific questions about capital available and the investment timeline. Now, this is designed for sophisticated investors who understand market cycles, appreciate professional operations, and execute when they see the opportunity. If that's you, the link is below. Now let me bring this all together. 10 forces converging in 2026. Landlord exodus, interest rates falling, prices below the peak, affordability is improving. There's still a supply crisis. There's institutional validation. There's regulation which creates a barrier. There's a tax squeeze, limited company advantages, and generation rent is permanent. This is one of the best buying windows, but it's temporary. By 2027, the tax changes hit, and motivated sellers will start to disappear. By 2028, prices will have recovered significantly, and by 2030, the window will have closed. So professional operators are deploying capital now, and they're buying from exiting amateurs. They're structuring through limited companies. If you want to understand how we're executing this strategy specifically, then the investor waitlist is in the description below. Now, this video, we covered why 2026 is the optimal deployment window with 10 converging forces. But I didn't cover the actual mechanics of how to execute in this market. If you want to understand HMO fundamentals, licensing, fire safety, room rents, tenant management, the complete operational picture, I've created a comprehensive breakdown. Check out my HMO Basics UK Property Investing for Beginners video, where I break down exactly how HMOs work, what makes them different from a traditional buy-to-let, and ultimately why professional operators are choosing this strategy in 2026. It's on screen now. The investor waitlist is in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next one.